What is up, everyone? Bootman here, and today we're doing something a little bit different. If you've been scrolling through YouTube lately, you've probably noticed a flood of early Marvel Rivals tier list for season 1.5. But here's the problem. Most of these people are just throwing around their opinions, guessing who's good, who's bad, and it's all based on how they feel after the start of the season. No data, no facts, just vibes. That's where I'm changing the game. I used AI to build what I think is the most objective tier list for Marvel Rivals Season 1.5 thus far, using real data from rivalstracker.com across all ranks. Now you may be asking, why is that better? Because data gives us a full picture. How often heroes win, how many people are playing them, and how they perform everywhere, not just in one person's hands. Whether you're a casual player or grinding the high ranks, this list will help you pick the best heroes to get you some wins. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, before we jump into the tier list, let's talk about how we made it. And don't worry, I'll keep it as simple as possible because this AI did some crazy math that I didn't even fully understand. So a lot of tier lists out there are just someone's opinion, but we wanted to do something based on real data. And here's how we did that with data from rivalstracker.com. And for those of you who don't know, rivalstracker.com has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of games tracked, so there is a ton of data to pull from. First, we looked at the win rates across all the main ranks: Platinum, Diamond, Grandmaster, Celestial, Eternity, and One Above All. Win rates tell us how successful a hero is, but here's the catch. The highest ranks, like Celestial, Eternity, One Above All, only have a tiny portion of players, less than 0.5%. So we didn't want to let these super elite players skew the data. Instead, we gave more weight to ranks where most people play, like Platinum and Diamond, which make up over 14% of the player base. Think of it like a popularity contest. More players, more votes. For the higher ranks, we used their data, but we didn't let it overpower the lower ranks. So this way, this tier list is based on more average players rather than just the very best of the best. Next, we factored in how many matches each hero was played in. For example, Rocket Raccoon has a whopping 247,984 total matches logged, while Scarlet Witch has only tens of thousands of matches. Heroes with tons of games give us more reliable data than those with fewer matches, so we gave a little boost to heroes that have more playtime to make sure the list isn't based on flukes. Finally, I worked with AI to crunch the numbers and adjust everything so it's fair. No complicated math here, just a smart way to mix win rates, play counts, and rank popularity into one score. The result? A tier list that reflects what's working for most players, not just the top 0.5%. Pretty cool, right? All right, so let's jump into the tier list, starting with the best of the best at the S tier. These heroes are the cream of the crop in season 1.5 thus far, dominating across most of the ranks, and they're known for their incredible versatility and carry potential. First up, we got Magic. She's a strong duelist with high win rates. She's also a versatile brawler who excels in both the front line and the back line. Then, we got our man, Rocket Raccoon, one of the most hated strategists in the game, but by the way, make sure you watch my video about how Tim the Tap Man ruined Rocket's reputation. But Rocket has one of the most amount of matches played. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like over 270,000 or something like that, over 200,000 for sure. But not only does he have a huge data sample, but he's one of the top picks across all ranks. You may call him a healing bot, but his win rate speaks for itself. Next up, and possibly surprisingly, we got Mr. Fantastic with a weighted win rate of 54%. In the S tier, of course, we got Mantis. She is a meta strategist with a super high win rate in One Above All, and she has an insane damage boost. Unfortunately, her survivability isn't that great, but if you can land those sleeps, you'll be in good shape. After his recent buffs, we got Adam Warlock in the S tier. High healer with the burst heals, they upped his damage, so you got some nice bursts and he can counter some flyers pretty effectively. Then in the S tier, we got Captain America, the diving Vanguard. He's very strong in the lower ranks and he could dive effectively, but in the higher ranks, like One Above All, you better be a one trick if you wanna pull off some wins. Moving on to the A tier, we got my boy Spidey, who I'm terrible with, but apparently a lot of other people are good with him. He has pretty consistent win rates across most of the ranks. He's tough to play, but he can shine on maps that have a lot of open space, and his team up with Venom can be brutal. Next up in the A tier is my personal most hated hero. It is Black Panther with a weighted win rate of 53%. Very strong in Platinum and Celestial ranks, and he's great at draining the support cooldowns when he's constantly diving them and being annoying. I could speak to that from experience. Our first Vanguard in the A tier is none other than Penny Parker. She's niche, but strong. She's great against dive, but she's bad on the attack side. Her defense is unmatched though. Up in the A tier, we got Storm. Very strong in Platinum, but she drops quite a bit in the one above all rank. Then we got the God of Thunder himself, Thor. Super high skill potential, he bullies tanks, contests DPS, but he struggles against some of the snipers. Then we got Loki at a 52% weighted average win rate. He's tricky, but effective. He's a great strategist player for generalists. He's hard to kill, but he's not great at healing flyers on your team. And then the last one in the A tier is Iron Fist, somebody who's been underrated, in my opinion, for far too long, but after the recent patch, he's not doing too bad. He's great against tanks, but he's a little less threatening against the backline. Now let's move to the B tier, which is our biggest tier with the most heroes. These are solid heroes with about a 50 to 51% weighted average win rate. So they can work, but they do have some weaknesses. First up is Hela at 51%. She's consistent, but not really meta anymore. She can still two-tap people across the map, but she is struggling just a little bit. Next up, we got Mr. Again himself, Winter Soldier. Widely played across all ranks, and his ultimate can swing the entire tide of matches. Next up, we have a hero who I underestimated, The Thing. He's been doing pretty good. He has a solid 50% win rate. He's been really widely played across all the ranks, but his win rate isn't showing that he's one of the strongest, but that might change over time. Then we got the annoying pest Star-Lord in the B tier, sitting at 51%. He's a little inconsistent, but recent buffs to his uptime makes him a little bit of a challenge to kill. Next, we got Psylocke. Steady, great duelist, she could poke flyers with her hit scan, and she's still great at diving the backlines. At a solid 50% win rate, we got Logan, AKA Wolverine. Really good for skilled players and still a great counter to a lot of the tanks in the game. We unfortunately have Doctor Strange all the way down here in the B tier. He suffered some recent nerfs, but he's still fairly solid. Then we got the Hulk. He's solid but niche. Very high carry potential, but he can be a little bit vulnerable to snipers and divers. Another Vanguard in the B tier, we got Groot, but this might creep up. People are starting to play him a little bit more since his recent buffs, so look out. And oh, how the mighty have fallen. Since his recent nerfs, we got Moon Knight in the B tier at right at 50%. He's solid, but not a standout anymore. Next, we have the Punisher. He's a decent bully, but he kind of lacks solo impact. You really need a solid team if you hope to get some wins with the Punisher. And lastly, we got Scarlet Witch. She did get some buffs, but she's still pretty situational and could probably use some more buffs. Speaking of the mighty have fallen, we are now in the C tier and we are kicking it off with Hawkeye. Still a decent sniper, but he can fall apart pretty easily. And here's where it starts breaking my heart. We got Invisible Woman all the way down in the C tier with a 49% weighted average win rate. She has some decent survivability and heal output, and her ultimate is insane, but she's just not getting the wins like she used to. Another one of my favorite strategists down in the C tier. Unfortunately, she's only mainly used for her ultimate anymore. Next, we got Namor at 48%. He has a decent team up with Luna. Maybe that's why they're both sitting down here in the C tier. Good against divers, but he's just not cutting it. Next up, we got Cloak and Dagger. Poor Cloak and Dagger. They took a beating with the nerfs. They still have a pretty high pick rate, but they have been struggling since the nerfs. Then we got Magneto sitting at 49%. Still a pretty resilient tank, but he's weak against the melee characters. Next, we got Squirrel Girl. Most of the time, unless it's in the hands of a very skilled player with crazy aim, she's usually just feeding the enemy team's support ults. And Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, down in the C tier, rough start, being introduced to the game with a 47% win rate. His left click is a little bit tricky, but his team up with Storm is one of the most powerful in the entire game. Sorry, Editor Chris here. We gotta jump back to the B tier real quick. We got Venom. Venom in here with a solid 50% win rate. Still not a standout, but he's great at diving. Then we got Iron Man. Pretty steady across most of the rank, but he does drop significantly in One Above All. And now we are back and going into the D tier, where sadly, we're gonna see our final two heroes, starting with Natasha, the Black Widow. She has a 45% weighted average win rate. She is still underperforming, but when she has a Mantis on her team and the person playing her is very skilled, the damage output can be pretty decent and she could take some people out on the other team. And then lastly, not surprisingly to myself, the biggest Jeff hater in the world, he is still, yes, that's right, I said still, sitting in the D tier with a 45% average weighted win rate, all right? He is pretty much a meme pick, and I know what you're gonna say, well, he's pretty good in the hands of the right people. The problem is a lot of people aren't the right people, and he's typically just a meme pick who trolls love to play. So there you have it, our AI-powered Objective Season 1.5 Marvel Rivals tier list thus far. From S-tier powerhouses like Magic and Rocket to the D-tier stragglers like Black Widow and Jeff. So what do you think? Do you agree, disagree? What do you think about AI helping me with this tier list? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, all right? But anyways, that's all I got. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell. I got a ton of Marvel Rivals content coming for you, all right? Anyways, thanks again for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.